Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khush amdeed, ji ayanu, goeiemorgen.
Ishpata, Pakhair Ragale, Ni Hao, Tuna Shumme, Washwale, Ohai, Gonzaimes, Guten Morgen, Ola, Bonjour, Privyet, Kaifa Hal, Hale Shuma Chotore, Ahlan Wasal, Marhaba, Buna, Mucho, Gracias, Swabiab, Balli Kare, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into BTV World. You watching World this morning alongside the very fantastic, the very amazing, the very learned, the very supportive, the very always there, the very emotionally balanced, the very EQ balanced and the IQ balanced, ladies and gentlemen. She happens to be my wonderful co-host, and she is Shiza Hashmi. Hello, Shiza. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for asking.
And I happen to be Shazad Hassan, ladies and gentlemen. Today, the day happens to be Friday. I think my energy kind of says it all as well. But we hope and pray that everybody out there in 46 different countries is ready to kickstart their day with us. Yes, Shiza, you want to say something? Go ahead.
I do want to say, well, first of all, thank you for all the kind words, as usual. I think you're way too generous.
Oh
Secondly, it is a sunny day over here in the Twin Cities, first of all. Yep. So for all our regular viewers, you do know my morning is not as perfect as it would be if it was a rainy day.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Shazad, the Met Department did say that tonight, which makes Friday night, we are going to have massive thunderstorms and showers, not only in some parts of Islamabad, but actually a lot of them in Karachi and coastal areas for that matter. So this is sort of a warning for all the people living in those areas, sort of be prepared, do not go out at that time. And since we do know, and since you have often told me as well, in Karachi things do get messy within 2 to 5 minutes of, like, you know, rain and stuff. So be prepared for that, and I really hope and pray all of you stay safe.
Exactly, and there's a reason, you know, why we kind of, or why I have said it about Karachi as well, and that is that since I've lived in Karachi for 6 years, so every time it rains in Karachi, Karachi becomes a swimming pool. You know, that's the problem over there. And, you know, unfortunately, you just get stuck, you kind of go to work, and there are a lot of hindrances, and then, you know, the water stays on roads as well, and then, you know, it is obviously a health concern for a lot of other people. So please make sure if you guys are watching us today, or, you know, if you have friends in Karachi, please make sure that you let them know that, hey, you know what, rain thunderstorms are coming. Please make sure that you're prepared. Not just that, over here in Islamabad for the next couple of days, you know, we're expecting rain as well. You know, there's 70% chances on some days, then there are 40% and 50% chances. So yeah, just make sure in Islamabad to keep an umbrella. That's it. Otherwise, you're just going to be fine and perfect as well. But not just that.
Today is actually a really important day. A sad day, in fact, a tragic day too. So ladies and gentlemen, just yesterday, one of Pakistan's very honorable or very celebrated journalist actually passed away as well. He was chronically fighting with cancer for so long. We're talking about Rahimullah Yousafzai Saab.
Exactly, and to be very honest, you know, Shiza, where you actually said that he's one of the most honorable journalists, and it's because of the fact that he was conferred upon with Sitara Imtiaz and Tamgha Imtiaz as well, the highest civil awards. But the Peshawar-based journalist was considered an expert on the country's tribal districts, Afghanistan and the Taliban. He covered the situation in Afghanistan since the Soviet invasion, Shiza, in 1979, and interviewed Al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden as well as Taliban founder Mullah Umar.
And condolences actually were pouring in from a lot of important people over the internet, and even the Premier Prime Minister Imran Khan Saab mentioned that he happened to be one of the Pakistan's most well-respected journalists, along with, of course, his thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, and his funeral prayers will be held in his native village of Inzargai in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa's Mardan district today.
May his soul rest in peace.
Ameen,
indeed, it is a huge
and
loss for Pakistan.
Yeah, patience for the bereaved as well. And ladies and gentlemen, I think that this is the kind of vision I have, Shizad, that, you know, once, God forbid, you leave for your final abode, you leave a footprint where people kind of remember you and remember the services you've rendered for your motherland as well. And I hope that, you know, we kind of succeed in that. What is your goal, you know, when we're obviously going to leave for our final abode? What is your goal? How do you want the world to remember you?
Okay, this is a very important question, sort of, but I think the answer a lot of people don't have, and today I happen to be one of those people. No, but for sure, like you said, the legacy that you do leave behind has to be something really positive. I mean, there are so many people, Shazad, we have now seen a lot of tyrants even. History has gone by, but they are today remembered in the worst of names. And I definitely do not want to be one of those. So I think the simplest thing to achieve as an individual is actually to spread generosity and kindness every single day, because you wouldn't know which day will actually leave a massive mark as well.
Exactly. That's true. And which is why, you know, I think, you know, just early in the morning today, I actually got a compliment as well. You know, there's Mazhar Saab who's doing a program on PTV Home as well. He got in. It was like, I was sitting at the SP office and somebody talked about you, and they had something so wonderful to say about you. So I was like, please go and share it with me. And then he was like, tum over ho jaoge, but things like that. But ladies and gentlemen, please make sure that wherever you go, you take this message of positivity and be a good human every single day.
Absolutely. Now, I have to take you back to where we were discussing, of course, Rahimullah Yousafzai Saab, and we sort of drifted, sorry, coming back to that. Where you mentioned that he actually has a lot of recognized work on all the, tribal areas and districts for that matter. He has worked particularly in the 70s in Afghanistan with a lot of different, organizations, and of course, reported on different people too. And those were the times actually when there was a lot of turmoil, not only in the neighboring countries, Shahzad, but if we're really being honest, in our tribal areas and districts as well. And it was only in 2018, was it, when the incumbent government, came up with the idea that enough is enough, everyone is equal in this country, and we do not want to have tribal areas for that matter, or FATA particularly for that matter, in a way that they feel left out. We want a mainstream Pakistan where everyone feels included. So a merger was sort of declared.
Yeah,
and where are we in terms of that merger
now?
It
took place as well, so the Supreme Court's jurisdiction was extended, the High Court jurisdiction was extended as well. Not just that, but I think it's very important and imperative at the same time to let you know that there were these 7 agencies which have actually been merged into districts now, namely South Waziristan, North Waziristan, Kuram Agency, Bajour Agency, Orakzai Agency, Khyber Agency, and Mohammed Agency. Now imagine that for all of those people who've been living within these tribal areas for when Pakistan got its independence, they were obviously, they didn't have all of those facilities which we had. They didn't have the government entities, they didn't have the government bodies, they didn't have the economic infrastructure.
Right.
They really were short on quite a lot of things as well. And now, alhamdulillah, they are going to live an equal life as well. But ladies and gentlemen, we always talk about how public and private partnerships go hand in hand as well towards the prosperity and the progress. And it's not just that, there are external forces who come in and help you, and USAID is actually one of them as well. Today we will be in conversation with representatives of USAID and talk about, what kind of economic growth structure are they going to bring to all of these newly merged districts as well. Not just that, what are they doing for women, what are they doing for the entire population of these districts, what kind of projects are being introduced. But before we do that, I think it's very important that since it has been, PT has been in KPK since 2013, it's very important for us to kind of take a note of the projects PTI government took up in their tenure of being in KPK as well.
Right.
And what happened? Let's go, let's take a look, and once you'll be back, we'll talk about USAID.
Okay, let's do it.
Good morning. Wow, that was nice.
The government of Pakistan is making great progress in improving the standard of living for citizens in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. From governance, humanitarian assistance and environment to education, health and economic growth, widespread improvements in all sectors can be seen. Development and progress in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is critical not just for domestic stability in Pakistan but also for global and regional security, especially after disturbances caused by prolonged conflict in the region. Therefore, Prime Minister Imran Khan assured technical assistance to provincial and district level governments to improve their capacity to manage and monitor public services. Projects are underway for the reconstruction and rehabilitation of public infrastructure. Similarly, economic infrastructure is being expanded to create sustainable economic opportunities. The government is also working to increase access to quality education. Projects have been initiated to provide essential school supplies to promote a conducive learning environment. Scholarships and grants are also being offered to encourage students to pursue higher education. Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is the province where the Billion Tree Tsunami Project originated in 2014 by Prime Minister Imran Khan. After its huge success, the project was expanded to its current target of planting 10 billion trees. With such development projects and initiatives, the government of Pakistan hopes to provide citizens residing in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province with improved living standards and greater opportunity for progress.
And wow, what a good report to watch early in the morning. I think it's going to set the pace for the entire day as well and for the weekend. But ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by the USAID representatives over here in Pakistan who've been working since 2007 in all of these tribal areas, and obviously the merger took place in 2018. But let's see what has been happening in these newly merged tribal areas into districts as well. So first up, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by an economic growth expert. He happens to be Mr. Mujahid Salim Farooqi Sahab. Hello sir, Assalamu Alaikum, good morning.
Assalamu Alaikum ji.
Walaikum assalam.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's wonderful to be to have you on the show as well, and to be kind of talking about all of those parts of Pakistan which needed our attention. I think it's wonderful to have you
for
here.
having us.
Not just that, alongside Mr. Mujahid, ladies and gentlemen, we actually have been joined by an agriculture expert as well. He happens to be Mr. Mohsin Rose. Hello, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum, and I'm very well, thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us. Wonderful to have you. You know, most of the time I put in so much energy because I want people to wake up over there as well. I think I need to put my energy towards you too as well a little bit. So once again, assalamu alaikum, sir.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning.
Wa alaikum assalam, and thank you very much for joining us. So Shizad, you want to take the lead?
Yeah, I think to begin with, let's sort of set the premise of what were some of the areas or categories that you identified that needed developmental attention in particularly those districts.
Sure. So first of all, thank you very much for having us here.
It's our pleasure.
We would like to give you an overview of what we have done in the erstwhile FATA region, or the MERD district as we call them now. Over the years, we started working in this area since 2007.
Okay.
That is the current phase of our programming. And at that time, it was still kind of tribal area. The Constitution of Pakistan was not extended there. There were a number of developmental challenges that the government of Pakistan was dealing with. So we entered into a partnership with the government of Pakistan and of course the government of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And we work across the sectors. We have a comprehensive development portfolio there. Some of the key interventions that we did earlier on in these areas included some major infrastructure development work, because you know this area has been disconnected from the rest of the country.
Yes.
In many ways, including the governance structure, the lack of infrastructure, lack of service delivery. So when you start looking at the region, the first thing that really strikes you is the lack of connectivity or lack of integration with the mainlands. So that was our first focus. We entered into a partnership with the government of Pakistan, whereby we initiated a number of major infrastructure development interventions,
Okay.
Including some major road networks, which not only connect these areas with the mainlands, but also provide for major trading routes between Pakistan, Afghanistan, and the Central Asian states.
Brilliant.
As we all know, the MERD districts or the erstwhile FATA region depends heavily on trade for their livelihoods. It is one of the major sector of the economy.
Yes.
So it contributed a lot, the work that we did contributed a lot to promoting livelihood opportunities in this area. We built we built 3 major trade corridors there, including the Banu Ghulam Khan Road,
Okay.
the Core Wana Road, and the most famous trading route, the Peshawar-Torkham Road,
Yes.
that we reconstructed, rehabilitated, because it takes the major burden of the trade traffic that takes place between Pakistan and Afghanistan.
Okay.
And in addition to that, we implemented a couple of major irrigation and irrigation development activities that my colleague Mohsin Rose will talk about at a later stage. But that was our first major intervention. Then we worked a lot on the governance side of things,
Okay.
because you need institutions to implement these initiatives.
So were you
Yeah.
strengthening the institutions, or were you making new ones? What were you doing?
Or were there any institutions
There
existed
were
already?
institutions.
Okay.
There were institutions that lacked capacity for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And our first focus was, again, whatever we do in this region, we follow government of Pakistan's priorities.
Of course, of course.
So whatever the government of Pakistan identified as in terms of their most pressing needs for institutional capacity building, we supported that. So we provided a lot of technical assistance to the FATA Secretariat at that time to help them implement development initiatives, to develop their procurement systems, their financial management systems, their monitoring systems, because that's critical if you were to achieve kind of a sustainable impact of your development work.
True.
We developed their IT systems. We provided trainings, human resource development support activities. So it was a comprehensive program which is still being implemented. However, the dynamics have changed after merger.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it later
For
on,
sure.
that how we are supporting this merger in post 2018 scenario. But at that time, it was the first 10 years of our programming in the merged district was the most kind of
challenging
part.
And we want to kind of come down to the challenges as well, but very quickly I actually want to involve Rose Saab over here in this conversation as well, for a country like Pakistan, where our economy majorly is dependent on agriculture as well, and then, Salim Saab actually mentioned about irrigation projects taking place in those areas as well. I mean, this, I think for me, for the very first time that I'm going to hear about irrigation projects, and that too in probably Khyber Agency or Khurram Agency or the newly merged districts, as we may say it now. So what are the projects which you've undertaken?
Well, as Mujahid said, this first phase started in 2007. But
difficult time that was.
Yeah, we started off with, because knowing that newly merged districts, water is very scarce and agriculture is entirely dependent on wherever there is water available. It's really small proportion of the agriculture that is practiced there, but it's critical because over 70% of the population is dependent on it.
Yeah.
So let me take back you to the 2010 floods. In 2010 floods, the major canal system which feeds the central KP, which I would say it's the blood vein of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. The upper Swat Canal and so lower Swat Canal, which irrigates over 500,000 acres in these central districts in Mardan, Sawabi, Charsadda, and parts of Nowshera and Malakand.
Okay.
It was completely washed away. There, USAID rebuilt those two headworks, which diverts water from the Swat river system into these canals, which were obviously built by British government in by end of 1800.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it was very old. It was washed away, and the water supply was completely disrupted to over 500,000 acres. That we rehabilitated. Then in 2010, after 2010 floods, we assisted over 500,000 farmers. We provided them agriculture inputs, fertilizer, desiltation of all the irrigation channels, which was around 2,700 kilometers all across KP. So we have a significant role in rehabilitating when disasters hit the irrigation, the agriculture system, and of course the irrigation system, which is a key part of the agriculture.
True.
Likewise, after the security, the instability and displacement in 2014 and 15 from the newly merged districts, which was around 3 million people. Wow. When they started repatriating, we assisted over 70,000 families, which constitutes around over 1 million people.
Yeah.
By rebuilding, because they were displaced for over 5-6 years. So their lands were abandoned, everything was disrupted. We rebuilt their agriculture systems. The orchards were all destroyed, unattended. The lands were like unattended and were taken over by shrubs and were destroyed or degraded by over time with rains and all these things. So we reclaimed and rebuilt around 3,000 acres of those lands.
Right.
We rebuilt the irrigation systems. We tried to restore the agri-businesses there.
Wow.
So it's
Are
a
they
major.
fully
I can't count
restored?
them. It's significant, but I might be forgetting.
Definitely.
But are they fully restored? Are they fully functional? 100% people are taking advantage of it now?
Yes.
Or is it still in the process?
The rehabilitation and reconstruction is still on.
Okay.
We are simultaneously working it on taking it to a higher level, to more development oriented now.
All right.
We are taking it now to a more commercial level where they can, whatever they produce, market it in across the border and inside the country, down the markets. So we are now giving them more high level development interventions now.
Yeah, just in connection to this as well, because when we talk about agriculture, irrigation, it obviously goes through people's land, and at times there are challenges faced by a lot of people as well. Whenever you bring in a new system or rebuild or reconstruct, people do have some obligations onto that as well, or probably they will object that why is this happening over here, or do it somewhere else. This is my land, get out of here. And talking about all of these newly merged tribe, well, not even newly merged now, it's to 2021 as well. Were there any challenges faced by USAID and the government itself?
When it comes to rehabilitation, we did all what was already existing. We just rebuilt it.
Okay.
For the question that you asked, like for instance, the over 400 kilometers of the canal network that we built under Gomalzam command area. It's a Gomalzam dam that we built.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we built a massive network of canal systems, which is 400 kilometers. It will irrigate around 200,000 acres of land in Tank and Dia Khan, which was completely barren area. It was traditionally irrigated by a road Kohi system, which is a hill torrent system. And they crop only once a year. And it all depends on if it rains, they do it. If it doesn't rain, they don't do it. But for now, they have a short supply of water. All year round, they can have multiple crops in a year. So it's a massive revolution in that area. So of course, if we do all the canal systems, we, as Mujahid earlier said, we work in close partnership with the farming community, with the government. So whatever the government, and whatever we do, it's for their benefit. So yeah,
So they understand it.
Yeah,
Well,
they understand the
great.
importance of it. Yeah.
That really does sound great. But gentlemen, right now, I think we cannot ignore one fact particularly. And Shahzad, when you talk about, mergers first of all, and then just generally secluded or far-flung areas, the people, now I'm talking in terms of humanitarian approach, right? The people of that area have reservations if they feel left out, first of all. Now, the merger is definitely a great thing, but we cannot ignore the fact that for so many years, those particular people or the society community might be having some identity conflicts, and they're not something that you can generate on yourself. They're probably in your subconscious. They're probably built over so many years of experience as well. So while now they have a lot of, well, the merger is going on, but we can, so in terms of one of the resources is, I mean, when we talk about economic resources, sorry, I'm going all over the place, but this is something that may be so close to the hearts of those people who, while, they do agree to sort of merge, but they want the best for themselves in case of employment or in case of just regular sustainable plans for them.
Yes, all of these things.
How are you taking care of that? And that too, under the light of KP government's, of course, priorities.
And before you answer this, Shiza, I kind of want to reflect upon what you just said. And, this merger hasn't taken place for a longer period of time is because of the fact that there were major parties within those tribal areas who really didn't want that. So, let's not put it either way. So what happened right now is that the merger took place, and I think it's great as well.
So that's what I said. I want to just understand how the opportunities are being given to them.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. People wanted a better life for themselves. And what happened during displacement, Mohsin spoke about it in quite detail. At a given time, there were more than 3 million people who were out of their native areas. And they were housed somewhere in KP, in different parts of KP, in relatively developed areas. So they got exposed to better services. They saw that how life really looks like in other parts of the country. And they wanted similar services, they wanted better access to economic opportunities. And that's where we are working very closely with the government of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa to improve overall living conditions for the population of merged districts. The government of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the government of Pakistan, as a matter of fact, when they decided to merge these districts, they came up with this comprehensive strategy called Tribal Decade Strategy.
Okay.
Which provides for one of the key pillars of the Tribal Decade Strategy is a 10-year socio-economic development plan, which lays out a comprehensive agenda to bring this region at par with the rest of the country.
Could you highlight some of the points, please?
Some of the points included in there are basically improved access to livelihood opportunities, improved access to social services, health services, education services, land settlement. As you would know, in this area up until now, land is owned by the communities. There is no individual land entitlement.
Okay.
And it has a huge bearing on economic opportunities because you cannot use land as a collateral to get loans from the banks. So it's a major constraint for businesses.
Right.
So with this land settlement, it will open up a huge opportunity for the population. Now they can access mainstream banking system. They can use their land as collateral and invest in their businesses.
Which is a huge deal, of course.
Which is a huge deal.
And sir, in addition to that, do you think that it is a constraint for people who are coming from outside KP, or is it a constraint for people within KP as well? Because I know how they are with the land anyways. So
no, it is a constraint for people within KP as well.
Okay.
So for instance, if an investor in KP, in Peshawar for instance, if they want to go to invest maybe in, just to kind of give you an example, if they want to invest in Bajor, you just cannot construct a building or invest in your business unless and until you have legal ownership of the piece of land.
Yeah,
You
of
cannot buy
course.
land there.
Right.
You buy land from individuals, right?
Exactly. And
So
they don't sell.
if there is no individual land entitlement, then you're constrained. You just cannot invest there. That's why we have seen a lot of flight of capital from our districts over the years. People who have money, they come out of their areas, they invest in Peshawar, they invest in other parts of the country, which is not a bad thing. I'm not saying that,
Okay.
but it has an impact on their native areas.
Exactly.
When you lose capital,
So how are you convincing them?
This is a sensitive area, you know.
Of course.
And what we do is we work with the government of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa to develop a comprehensive strategy for them to convince the local population to support these initiatives. And they have done a fairly kind of good job on that.
Yeah, of course.
They have engaged communities comprehensively, extensively over the last few years. In fact, the merger process also involved rigorous consultation with the communities.
Right. I think it was important.
It was important.
Definitely.
It was important to secure their buy-in. Otherwise, you just cannot impose your agenda on the population.
And it's only fair.
It's only fair. So we help them develop communication strategy. We help them develop policies which are responsive to the needs of the population. We help them in effectively implementing those policies through institutional capacity building support. So we have a we do not really kind of we work on a number of areas. It's not just infrastructure or providing grants to population. We work on it's a very comprehensive program where we work on the policy side of things, on the institutional capacity building, so that we achieve a sustainable impact of our work.
From grassroots level till the top of the pyramid as well. But very quickly, since we're short on time, we have to wrap up this segment. Rosab, I'm going to pose this question to you. Obviously, talking about women over here in Pakistan, I think, alhamdulillah, in every walk of life, women are there and they represent themselves as well, which is great, alhamdulillah. We do it over here on the show today as well, and every single day. So for the women of KP, are there any projects which USAID is undertaken within those newly merged tribal areas as well?
Well, women and gender and women in particular. It's a cross-cutting theme that we have under every project. So we have a minimum target of reaching around 30% of women as beneficiaries. We have a very dedicated program for it, apart from the cross-cutting theme that we have in every project, and that is women economic empowerment activity, where we try to provide assistance to all women just to make them economically empowered so that they have a say in the decision making at the household, outside, or we are also try to, through different initiatives, try to build their capacity to have a say in the political decisions that they are making. And also, I would drag it back to my field, agriculture, because they have a significant role when it comes to harvesting, sorting, storing, and everything.
And their wages are unaccounted for as well.
That's a reality harsh, but they're part of the interventions that we do. We try to give them dedicated agriculture enterprises where they can sell it, their produce outside and have their own income. So that's what we have. We try to make sure that women are fully included and not excluded from all our interventions.
Wow, and that's wonderful. And this is the newer image of Pakistan. This is Naya Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen. But thank you very much to both of you for joining us. Wonderful to be in conversation and to know about how development is actually taking place even in the remotest of areas, which we thought back in 2010, 15, and from 18 onwards, obviously, they are the newly merged districts as well. So for all of those people who are out there, ladies and gentlemen, it's about time that we
are actually headed to a very short break. Just one small thing I want to say. As usual, I feel like it's not just the government's duty, or of course the organizations like UNDP for that matter. On the part of your individual self, you can definitely volunteer in all those developmental projects going on. Go onto their website. I'm pretty sure they have a lot of details on it. Right now, we're heading to a short break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned because we have something exciting in the next segment.
Rum, rum.
Welcome back to Well This Morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is a absolutely lovely day and absolutely lovely day over here in the Twin Cities as well, and we are here to learn along with you guys like every other morning.
Yeah.
So Shahzad, I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
I do remember when I first came to P2E and we became friends and everything. So you, every day, all day, on your Snapchat, you were on your bike with your friends. You had a gang, and you guys were like all over the Twin Cities.
Exactly.
And it made me sort of, well, it made me scared.
Really?
Where is that gang now?
Yeah, you did ask me like once or twice as well.
A lot of times. I was like, dude, like, don't, because I often did see you. I was like, please don't be one of those. But for sure. So what is it all about?
I think that those were those days in my life when I actually, you know, whenever in fact, when I started to grow up, you know those 800cc, 650cc Suzukis with two-stroke engines. They had this very wonderful noise to themselves, and every time I would run to the corner of my street, wishing that it's going to be a heavy bike. You know, that's how we refer to it, ladies and gentlemen, to a sports bike over here in Pakistan as well. We call it a heavy bike, and that's how it is. So ever since childhood, I had this passion of having my own heavy bike, and my parents wouldn't allow me at all. So once I started working, and I was like, this is that one dream which I actually want to fulfill. So I was in UK, I was getting a medical treatment, so I kind of emotionally blackmailed my parents, and then I sent a payment over here, and I got my first bike. But my parents didn't like it at all. The very first time I bought it, or the second time I upgraded to a Hayabusa as well, they didn't like it at all. But there are reasons, but ladies and gentlemen, there are people who actually follow it as a passion. They dedicate their entire self 24/7. They are into bikes as well, and they make sure that they create a difference and project a positive image of Pakistan. How are they doing it? We have an example over here in the studios. We have met before as well, but I wasn't on the bike, but they ride in gangs and they ride in groups as well. So we'll be in conversation with this gentleman. But first, we have this small, wonderful, amazing clip of heavy bikes. Oh, I'm going to live my dream again. Let's do it.
Okay, let's take a look.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we have the spear leader, or we have the Sparta of Alphas over here in the studios with us. He happens to be Mr. Shahryar Khan. Hello, Shahryar. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Shahzad. How are you?
Absolutely perfect. Thank you very much for joining us. Wonderful to have you over here.
Thank you for having me.
And first things first, so how did you get into this?
So I've had the passion of riding motorcycles since I was a young boy. I had these die-cast models of different bikes. I had a Repsol, I had a S1000, I had an R6, the die-cast models, obviously. With time, eventually when I started working, I started earning for myself. I planned on getting myself a bike, and I started off by telling my parents that I will be getting a car, probably a sports car. But I eventually ended up with a bike. Just one day, I was going to Peshawar to pick a car up. The deal got cancelled. I took a U-turn, went to Pindi, picked myself a bike.
Oh, yeah. How was the reaction?
My mom did not talk to me for a complete week, but eventually she came to terms with it in a way where she accepts that it's there, but she tells me to sell it off whenever I start it up or whenever I'm cleaning it.
Yeah. So, I think that you could have said that, Mom, it's actually a car, but it's only two wheels which are missing,
Exactly.
That's what it is. Obviously, there's always resistance. So let's not talk about it because we're short on time as well. So we want you to kind of speak about your passion.
Yeah.
Because this is one thing, Shiza, which I've noticed for sure, and that is that, once you have this, because I love cars, bikes, anything which I can ride, horses, probably, so I just love all of these things as well. I mean, if I knew how to fly a plane, I would love them as well. I do love them.
Fighter jet.
Yeah, but what I've seen is that, when you dedicate your entire life towards such a passion or dedication or a hobby, you actually keep yourself safe from a lot of menaces within the society. May it be drugs, may it be anything, may it be people who really, cannot think good about anything as well. So how do you think that you've maintained a lifestyle which is healthier for you as well, and that you're projecting the good image of Pakistan?
So I'd say that I've avoided people, I have avoided such people that were not good for me.
Yeah.
And I think that biking has led me to a very positive life, because every weekend I look forward to riding. I don't think about, my mind does not stray off to other ends, right?
Yeah, and you're just like, yeah, but niklu yaar.
Exactly. I am always about what I need to maintain on my bike. I'm always about what I need to, how I need to clean it, how I need to do, because the number of times I got my tires changed yesterday,
Yeah, wow.
right? And I was all about it yesterday.
Slick tires?
No, not slicks, not slicks, proper,
slicks?
yeah.
Wow,
so, but yeah, so that's basically it. Yeah, it does help me keep my mind off other things.
Yeah.
I focus my time on work, studies, and my riding. That's all I focus my time on. Yeah.
And I think that is the dream for everyone, right? I mean, these are the goals people do set, but I mean, hardly a few actually.
You having a hobby of riding heavy bikes.
I don't
Where's
think the bike is going to recognize my weight for that matter as well. But, when we talk about healthy hobbies and when we talk about sports, this is the reason people resort to sports, because the adrenaline rush, or actually the release of such happy hormones, is something that does keep you away from a lot of things. So while this is definitely a good point, but unfortunately, and I think this is one of the reasons actually Shahzad didn't speak about it or actually left being a part of it as well. A lot of people have lost their lives to this very sport or this very art, I sometimes want to say as well. And it does get traumatic. How do you get over that?
So I wouldn't say that one gets over it. We have lost our brothers, our riders, as a matter of fact, just recently as well. One doesn't bounce back from it, but one does learn to live with it, honestly.
But does it scare you when you get on the bike again?
At times.
Yes, it does, but that is when you realize that this sport can be made safe, right? And that's what I endorse with my group members as well, that we need to ride in a safe manner, where we're taking care of each other as well as taking care of the other road users as well.
Exactly, and thank you very much for saying that. But this is the exact reason why I actually stopped riding in a group, because what used to happen was that Shiza and Sharia, that our group expanded to having 30 riders and 40 riders at a time. So imagine that you cannot kind of control everybody's mindset. So no matter how many times I would say that, hey, you know what, nobody's going to overtake from the right or from the left. And all of a sudden when the first guy is going to give a throttle, everybody's going to boom, 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 boom. And you won't know, man, because of somebody else's mistake, you might end up doing, or God forbid, leaving this world as well, unfortunately, and leaving your parents in that trauma.
Right.
But what I think is very important for us to kind of talk about is that I think that the government really needs to provide us with a facility, because these roads we ride our bikes on, I mean, imagine in 3 seconds we are above 140 or 130 in 3 seconds time. I mean, if you have a good rider, the launch control is there.
Yeah.
But that's not the skill. The skill is to actually stop the bike.
That is correct.
How much do you agree to it, and what kind of facility do you think needs to be developed so that we can have it as sports?
So twisting the throttle is not difficult.
Yeah.
Shifting gears is not difficult. Going to 200, 300 is not difficult.
Yeah.
But controlling your emotions while you're twisting the throttle and while you're on the road is very difficult. And that's where it shows what kind of a person you are in general as well, and not just on the road. So I think that so obviously we're a young generation of young bikers, right? So all the people that I have in my group, they're relatively new, not more than 1 or 2 years. There are certain people who actually started riding in 2000. But I think that the only thing that's missing in this equation is a proper track.
Yeah.
We do not have a track to ride on. We don't have a track to actually practice our passion openly. We have these roads that honestly, the only thing...
You never know when a dog or a cat is going to come in between.
Exactly. So there's always this light blinking for the traction control at all times, because these roads never catch traction, and honestly, we can't do anything about it.
But I think with new tires, I don't think that the light would be blinking.
With new tires, yeah, that's one of the reasons I got them.
Exactly, but in addition to that, I still remember, I mean, it's not too long ago, I mean, I think it was just 2 years ago that I actually had my last bike as well. So it was Bali who used to come to my place to do the oil change.
Yeah.
Who's the new guy? Do we have a new guy on the block?
Yeah, we've got a bunch of new guys. So I actually started off with Bali, and now I've got like 3 different people for every type of work. So you cannot rely on one person. You have different people with different expertise, and that's just how. As a matter of fact, I had another guy working on the bike yesterday. I had another one working on the week before, and I had another one on the week before. So it's like different levels of expertise.
And you really need to be satisfied with that, Shiza, because you know, God forbid if you think that that the guy didn't do a right job with your bike, and it's a super machine, it's a beast, it flies literally on the road as well. So I always have this in your conscience that God forbid koi galti na ho jaye, koi masla na ho jaye. But now I see that it's a great business opportunity these days as well, because the bike I had have been sold forward like twice, and now it kind of costs around 2.6 and 2.7 million.
That is right.
Something I got for 1.4 million just 2 years ago.
Yes.
And now the bikes which are coming in these days as well from 2019 or 2018, they're asking for 5 million rupees.
Yeah, even more than that.
Yeah, so are you capitalizing on this newer opportunity where the bikes are so expensive these days?
So I'm not, honestly. So I do have connections for different things, right? So I've got a connection where there's a tires guy, right? I've got a connection where there's an oil guy. There's a connection. So I help my boys get the best stuff, but I don't keep anything for myself. I just do it for the sake of riding and just riding in a group, basically.
Yeah.
And how important is maintenance, where Shahzad said that?
It is very important. So if you don't have a maintained bike, I would say that there is no point of you riding. I think you should just sell it off.
Exactly. But thank you very much, Shahryar, for being with us. Lovely to be in conversation, and you kind of made me nostalgic. You took me back into those days.
You know what? I think he's going to contact you on the weekend.
Where at 4 a.m. in the morning we used to get up to go to Murray and have a ride so that we can safely ride, and there's not going to be any traffic as well.
Yes.
But thank you very much.
No worries.
Messages, make sure that you ride safe as well, and ask other people to do so.
Definitely.
And but my advice still would be not to kind of ride in a group. Because that's where you get pumped.
We're just like a group of smart and I'd
dynamic
say
people.
mature. Yeah, we have a chemistry. That is what matters, honestly.
I think that's wonderful as well. But thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Hobbies are hobbies, and they keep you away from all the ill menaces over here within the societies and communities and within the minds of people as well. But as of today, it happens to be a birthday of my very dear friend, a very dear colleague, a very great gentleman. Wears shalwar kameez most of the time. Every time he wears pant shirt, we kind of make joke of him as well, because we're not used to it.
So I think appreciating one of his things, I absolutely have massive respect for people who take work seriously in a manner that they would dress up for work. They would actually get ready for work. And this guy does it every day. I love it.
And he's actually brought us a cake as well. It's over here, so we're going to cut on his behalf. So we're going to sing it. Can we please share his picture? Chaudhry Numan, happy birthday. You're a good boy. Make sure that you stay a good boy as well. He loves money. He loves cars. He loves
I feel bad cutting it. I'm not going to do it.
He loves a lot of things which people shouldn't. But yes, you're a great guy, Chaudhry. Happy birthday to you.
Well, a very, very happy birthday to you, of course.
And alongside that, so as soon as our producer Jamshed Sahab said that we actually have to wish Chaudhry Numan, one of our amazing people over here in the studio, Asim Rana, came up with another one as well. He was like, isko bhi wish kar do. So, Abdullah Abbasi Sahab, happy Hajj Day to you as well. We hope that you're doing wonderfully well. And it's all because of Rana Asim that we're giving you a shout out as well. But happy birthday. Have a great day. Wow. So that's it pretty much, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody else other than Abdullah Abbasi and Chaudhry Numan, if it's your birthday today, very happy Hajj Day to all of you. May you prosper and may success come and kiss your feet.
Oh, that's so sweet. While I do enjoy my chocolate, I actually want to say goodbye to all of you.
This is a bad habit, yeah. Taking chocolates
Shahzad,
off the cake
from you.
is something I don't like at all.
Okay, you guys, just in a minute, you are going to have your latest update
and
of
just
all
in a minute,
the news.
she's actually going to have a cake as well.
Yes, that too. And we will see you on
Hum
Monday,
sirf aapke jaane ka intezar kar rahe hain.
Take care. Good morning.
Good morning.